going to call to order the regular meeting of the Eastpointe Community Schools Board of Education, January 8th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Please call the roll. Here.
Here.
Mr. Roscoe.
Here.
Mr. Williams here. Mrs. Rayford.
Here.
Mrs. Richardson.
Okay, if
And Mrs. Grunberg.
Here.
we could all please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion for approval of the agenda?
Play forth a motion to accept the agenda as written with further corrections.
Support. Support.
Please call the vote.
Mr. Roscoe.
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mr. Grunberg.
Yes.
Dr. Early.
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford.
No.
And Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Okay, everybody, there's a script at your table for the organizational portion of the meeting. Is there a motion?
I move that the organizational requirements of the Board of Education for the calendar year 2024 take place now, and that John Grunberg serves as the chairperson for this purpose.
And support.
Please call the vote.
Mr. Grunberg. No, Dr. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe.
Yes.
Mr. Grunberg.
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mrs. Rayford.
Okay, I'm missing something.
It's what you have to say to start the organization.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford?
I said yes.
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Okay. And just as a reminder, I asked Wendy, I think it was the last time we didn't have the full script. I think I might have just had a copy. But that's why I asked her, so it'd be easier for us to follow along, because it is scripted. Okay, first on the agenda for the organizational portion is nominations for president. Is there any nominations for president?
Place forth the nomination for John Grunberg to be president for 2024.
I place forth the nomination for Robert Roscoe for president.
Wow. Didn't see that coming.
Is there any other nominations?
I place forth the motion to elect Mary Hall Rayford for president.
Decline. Thank you.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, nominations are closed. We will go down through, and you can see if there's more than one nominee. And
Brother
if you want to go ahead and fill in the two names.
Brother President, I decline.
Oh, you decline?
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so then there's only one nominee then. Okay, if there's only one nominee, please call the vote.
Okay. Dr. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mr. Roscoe.
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford.
No.
Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
I don't get a vote? I don't get a vote?
Oh, you the one
You
being
told me.
elected.
You called me first.
Oh, I apologize. Mr. Grunberg.
Yes. Sorry
about that.
Okay, next we have nominations for vice president. Is there any nominations for vice president?
I place forth nomination for Dr. Early for vice president.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, are closed. One nominee, Dr. Early. Please call the vote.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes?
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford,
No.
and Mrs. Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
You know what, I asked you to follow the script, but I didn't. I guess I'm supposed to announce at the end of the president's voting that John Grunberg was elected president of the Eastpointe Board of Education, and after the vice president, Dr. Early was elected vice president of the Eastpointe Board of Education. Next, we have nominations for secretary. Are there any nominations for secretary?
Place forth a motion to nominate, that boy named down there? Edward Williams, Edward.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, nominations are closed. We have one nominee, and that's Mr. Williams. Please call the vote.
Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes?
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mrs. Rayford,
No.
Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Mr. Ed Williams was elected secretary of Eastpointe Board of Education. Okay, nominations for treasurer.
I nominate Robert Roscoe for treasurer of the Eastpointe Board of Education.
Is there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, nominations closed. Robert Roscoe, please call the vote.
Mrs. Grunberg,
Yes.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford,
No.
and
Okay, on the part, I did say that he was elected, right? Robert Roscoe, I did say it, okay. I want to make sure. Part 2, organizational meeting. I guess I'll just go ahead because we'll make it quicker that way, right?
Yeah.
I move that the superintendent be authorized to notify as necessary all agencies and businesses doing business with the school district, and that the official name of the school district is Eastpointe Community Schools, and that the following officers are elected for the calendar year commencing January 1st, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2024. President is John Grunberg, Vice President is Dr. Geneva Early, Secretary is is Edward Williams, and Treasurer is Robert Roscoe. Well, I'm just saying, I made the motion, there should be a second.
So, yeah.
The others were just nominations, that's the same. Please call the vote.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes?
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford,
No.
and Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Motion carries. I move that the board shall hold 2 regular meetings each month, with the exceptions of July, August, and December, having only 1 meeting. The regular meetings shall be held normally on the 2nd and 4th Monday of each month, beginning at 6:30 p.m. and located at Eastpointe City Hall, 23200 Gratiot, Eastpointe, Michigan.
Support.
Please call the vote.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford,
Yes.
and Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, I move the following resolution be adopted. Be it resolved that the following banks, Comerica, First State Bank, U.S. Bank, bond paying agent, Huntington Bank, bond paying agent, may be designated and are hereby assigned for depository consideration of the Eastpointe Community Schools, and the funds so deposited may be withdrawn upon duly authorized check, draft, note, or order of the Eastpointe Community Schools. Is there support?
Support.
Please call a vote.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes?
Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mrs. Rayford,
Yes.
and Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Okay, I move the following resolution related to mechanical check signing device be adopted for the calendar year commencing January 1st, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2024. Be resolved that from and after the date of service of a copy of this resolution on the following depositories, that they are hereby authorized and empowered to honor and pay all checks drawn on any account by this organization with said depositories, and signed by its treasurer or with signature plate containing the following signature, and that would be Mr. Robert Roscoe. Said depositories are Comerica and First State Bank. Is there support?
Support.
Please call the vote.
Okay. Mr. Grunberg,
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mrs. Rayford,
Yes.
and Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Okay, I move that the following resolution adds the following person as signer on all accounts, which would be Robert Roscoe, as the authorized signer for the district, as the treasurer of the Board of Education for the calendar year commencing January 1st, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2024.
Support.
Please call the vote.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford,
Yes.
and Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Okay, and since number 6 is not applicable, we move on. That concludes the organizational portion of the meeting. Next, we have consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Comments, questions?
Yeah, there are questions. Couple of things here. In reading the finance report, I didn't really understand, so and one was the descriptions of things. Is that we should have a better way of describing what's being spent.
So you want to separate out the support of the bills and vote on the others first?
Yeah, we can.
Because that's what we do, is we normally would separate them if you requested it separates. Okay, well then, would you like to amend your motion to make it just 6A? Who made the motion originally?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who supported? You want to amend that as well, too?
I support it.
And then we can vote on A.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then we'll talk about B.
All right.
Okay, please call the vote.
Okay. Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mr. Grunberg,
Yes?
Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford,
Yes.
and Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Okay, now you had a question on the actual bills themselves, or?
A question regarding how the finance reports are actually formatted. I think there could be a better way so that it's easily understood by average person looking at it.
Okay.
And I don't know whose responsibility that is, but I just think it should be a better way to format that.
I would suggest that you get with the superintendent and talk it over with the superintendent. Maybe we can come up with something to make it a little bit more user-friendly.
Be happy to set up a time with Executive Director Robert Carlessa, myself, Ms. Rayford. Please contact my office and we'll happily set that time up for you.
Okay.
And I'm suggesting that being a numbers person, and yes, the numbers can look awful complicated at times. So the easier it is for people to understand it better.
Well, I mean, I could go on, but I won't.
So, Brother President, would there be that pause? Are we at
Okay,
pause on-
so is there a motion to accept supported?
Are we at pause on 6?
No, we'll still vote on
Move forward.
6.
Okay,
Yeah, B.
okay.
Yeah, we'll still move forward on 6B.
We said B, okay.
Is there a motion to accept 6B? We're still going to vote to pay the bills. She's going to get with the
Support.
superintendent.
Support,
Okay.
support.
You gotta make the motion.
I thought the motion was on support.
Yeah,
Oh, no, okay, I'm sorry.
We pulled it off.
Okay.
We separated. So is there a motion for 6B?
I make the motion to support the fund, to accept the bills, support of the bills.
Support. We'll pay the bill.
Please call the vote.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe,
Support, yes.
Mr. Gruenberg,
Yes.
It's gonna be all right.
Mrs. Rayford,
Yes.
and Mrs. Gruenberg.
Yes.
Okay, next we have superintendent's report. Superintendent Gibson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the public, those of you joining us in the audience and those joining from at home. So we'll continue this year celebrating some moments that matter in our organization. First, I'd like to open up the floor. January is School Board Member Appreciation Month. I don't think that the public understands the volume of work that goes into being a school board member. I see a spouse of a school board member nodding in agreement. So lots of reading of material, lots of tough conversations, lots of advocacy inside of the community. And so I'd like to take this time to thank the school board for their dedication to this organization. And we will continue to find ways to celebrate all of you throughout the month of January. Congratulations and thank you for all that you do. The final week in December, our first annual community newsletter came out of the celebration of all the great things happening in the community of Eastpointe. Residents should have received this community newsletter in their mail. I know a number did the last week of December, and that I continue to hear that people are getting them now. We will have a second edition out in the spring, but it's a great opportunity for us to show not all of our taxpayers and our constituents are on Facebook or Instagram or regularly going to our web page, although our web traffic has been increasing exponentially. So we wanted to put this newsletter out into everybody's hands and remove those barriers that technology might create for folks not engaged with us. Thank you very much to Caitlin Keenitz, communications specialist, for her fantastic work in creating this publication. We'd like to give a shout out to Eastpointe Middle School, had a attendance reward field trip. Just prior to the break, a group of about 40 middle school students visited the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit as a reward for having solid attendance so far this year. The students were there to see one particular exhibit, but actually begged the museum to let them in to other exhibits. So they also got a chance to see the Tuskegee Airmen exhibit at the museum as well, and they had a great time. Donuts with Dads at Pleasant View Elementary School. Pleasant View does an absolutely exceptional job of engaging with our families and creating these moments with children. And these are 3 of my favorite pictures. There were over 90 dads in attendance at Donuts with Dads. And one young lady, our actress here, was in the Pleasant View play. And I just love that the gentlemen and the dads of our children are taking the time to come and be with their kids at school. It takes a partnership, and we're very proud of the work at Pleasant View that they have done to engage our families. Eastpointe, the ECSE program is a program at our Early Learning Center. And they hosted an opportunity to build gingerbread houses as their family engagement event for the month of December. And here's a few of the pictures of families engaging with their kids learning to build these. I have found the trick out, and I only figured it out this year. Thank you to the ELC and Forest Park. They use the milk carton to make sure that the gingerbread house has success. So for those of you that have had collapsed gingerbread houses in the past, it's a milk carton. Winter weather reminders. Allegedly, winter weather is going to come sometime here in Michigan, maybe this week. I want to remind families as well as staff. Staff internally, our communication system will be using the Remind system. If you are not signed up, please see your building principal. Families, we will use our single sources of truth. We will use the robocall system. Please make sure your contact information is up to date in PowerSchool. We will also post on a district web page as well as the Facebook page and on all the local media channels. Upcoming events, January 6th through the 27th. This is the end of our second semester window. We also begin our winter assessments during this time, so families' attendance and having your children come to school during this winter window is really important, as it is every day. January 15th will not be a school day. We will instead celebrate Martin Luther King Day. There will be activities in the community. Families are encouraged to engage in those. And then the end of semester one, January 26th. Winter sports are in full swing. Just prior to this board meeting, the JV basketball team won with 8 seconds on the clock and a final shootout. And I'm eagerly awaiting the scores of our high school varsity team sports this evening. Please check our website. Game schedules do change due to busing and availability. Please be sure to check our website to keep up to date on any last-minute changes. That concludes the superintendent's report this evening. Oh, I'm sorry. Happy New Year. We're going to try to show you a reel that was created to celebrate our year in review. And hopefully the sound.
And with that, the 2023 season.
We'll try one more time because my computer decided to update.
And with that, the 2023 season comes to an end. Good night.
So unfortunately, that if you go to our Facebook,
sweep the streets I used to own. I used to roll the dice, feel the fear in my enemy's eyes. Listen as the crowd would sing. Now the old king's dead, long live the king. 1 minute I held the key. Next the walls were closed on me, and I discovered that my castle stand upon pillars of sand, pillars of sand. I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing.
every time I watch it, I see something new, but it's way better with the music. Please check out our Instagram page or our Facebook page. There's a number of views on it. I think most of them might be mine because I'm so proud of this organization, our students, and all of the work that they've accomplished this year. That finally concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay, before we go on, I want to remind the rest of the board that we have these couple pieces at our table today. Don't forget about the Martin Luther King breakfast. I think this is coming Monday, a week from today.
I have a question regarding the superintendent's report.
Oh, okay, go ahead with that first. Sorry.
We tend to get all the really nice rainbow, sugary type reports. However, there are some other disturbing things going on out there that the community is concerned about, and so am I, quite frankly. School performance, the grade is abysmal.
Is there a specific question about the report?
It's a question about her report because I want to know why was no comment made about any of the not so nice or flowery things going on. We need to be transparent with the community and not just give them the pretty highlights, but all of it.
Anything else?
You really don't want to ask that question.
Well, I'm just saying because I thought, when she gives a report, if you had a specific question about something she actually
I did. I said, why was there not a comment about it?
That wasn't a question. That was more of like a comment.
Well, I said, why was there not a comment about all the negative things, the not so nice things that are going on? with the district? That was the question.
Well, I think that's a question that you probably should address with the superintendent individually.
I'd be happy to make an appointment with you, Ms.
Okay.
Rayford.
Thank you, but I'm not interested in an appointment. I think the public needs to know exactly why we are having difficulty with performance, exactly why nothing has been said about impending lawsuits. I realize you can't say a whole lot, but these are things that people want to know. They keep asking me. Personally, I said, John, they need to ask you. Right now, I've heard so many people say this whole board should be dissolved.
You do realize we have a hearing of the public as well, too?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay. So people are free to come, and my email address is listed, as well as I believe my phone number is, and people are free to contact us at any time.
Well, they don't
Okay.
feel comfortable coming because they don't feel
Well-
like people are paying attention to them.
That's fine, and I don't feel comfortable with people stating things about low performance and things like that, when I think that our administration has been very transparent when they give us our updates on every particular school. They give us the honest-to-God's performance of that school and the students in that school. So I think as a board, we are quite aware. And if the public pays attention to those reports as well, too, they will see that because we are on TV. They're free to come. They're free to see them. So your thing as far as not being transparent, as far as that is concerned, I think we are very transparent. We're as transparent as any other district out there because they all do roughly about the same thing. They report their scores school by school, grade level by grade level, just like we do. And we're not fudging them. They're the honest-to-God's numbers. That's it.
I wasn't,
And we don't sit here and sugarcoat it. I think our administration and our staff has been very well-versed at addressing it and owning up to the numbers and bringing things to us like curriculum and things like that to try to improve the numbers as well, too. And we have partnerships as well. So this is not something that has not been transparent. I mean, you may want it more transparent. I don't know. Maybe you want people to engage with it on social network, but I don't necessarily
I'm simply
do that,
saying
but-
the public needs to be aware of all the things that are
We
not
put it
so
out there
nice.
to the public.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
Superintendent's report is always very flowery. All the good
Well,
stuff.
the superintendent's trying to highlight the things that are going on good in the district. I think
Well,
a lot
but
of
they
us-
need to know the
A lot of
other
us like
side.
to do that.
Okay, John, excuse me.
This is not a debate. Is
No,
there
it's
any
not
other
a debate.
questions
I'm
regarding-
going to say what I want to say here.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
I'm sorry. We're going to move on. Next
Well,
item on
I'll
the
talk
agenda
over
is hearing
you.
of the
You
public.
cut my mic off. I don't really care. But at this point, there needs to be some accountability. You can't fix what you're not willing to exist.
Is there a motion
It's
for
wrong.
recess?
Make a motion that we take a recess.
I support.
Please call a vote.
Dr. Early?
Yes.
Mr. Williams? Yes. Mr. Grunberg?
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford?
No.
Mrs. Grunberg?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take a 3-minute recess. If anybody has to go get a drink of water or use the facilities, go ahead. Or stand up to stretch their leg out.
That way to the restroom, I believe. Ooh-wee.
She in the hallway doing the Pee Wee. She's doing the Pee Wee Herman in the hallway. Never. Remember, I'm in charge.
She's coming.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard? Does anyone wish to be heard? That's opening at 7:02. You need to state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes, okay?
Hi, I'm Shelley Chapa. I live in Eastpointe. My son went to the community schools here. I'm commenting on some current concerns today. The position of the superintendent was not open to the public for application prior to Ms. Gibson being elected or selected. She was not interviewed for the position in a public forum. You allow the superintendent to drive your meetings, occupy more than 3/4 of the discussion, and giving unsolicited input on agenda items, including the board's own code of ethics. There are currently 3 lawsuits involving Ms. Gibson and by extension the school board. All 3 allege race discrimination, constructive discharge, retaliation, hostile work environment, violation of civil rights, First Amendment retaliation, violation of Michigan Public Employment Relations, breach of contract, violation of Michigan School Code, negligent misrepresentation, and defamation. As for the school board, I hear John Bloomberg constantly saying he has 20 years of experience. Well, that 20 years of experience, yet we have to resort to hiring inexperienced teachers well after the school year started because we can't attract and maintain talent. This board is employing old gimmicky reward systems to attempt to stop high-achieving students from leaving the district and entice kids to attend classes instead of getting professional consultation to turn around our district. Your board meetings do nothing to inform the parents or faculty. Every item is abbreviated and apparently discussed prior to the meetings, just so you can get out of here without long discussion or debate. You cut the hearing of the public and the board member comments at the end of the meetings, again, for the sake of eliminating discussion and debate. Your monthly bill reports, and I am a financial person as well, they're not transparent. $362,000 this month for healthcare services, Barton Mallow and Conti LLC. No explanation who that is, what healthcare was paid for, who it was paid for. There needs to be better documentation so for the public. These are the types of things that create,
You have about 30 seconds, just so you know.
these are the types of things that create bad influence with the community. They don't trust what they see and they don't know what's going on. And your code of ethics, no committee, is a joke because with no committee to enforce it, it's simply a tool for you guys to police your own board members illegitimately. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Once again, please, you got to state your name for the record. 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Cindy Federley. I'm
lawsuits that our district is facing. But as a taxpayer, I'd like to know what steps the school board is taking to address the hostile work environment that has been cited. There are 3 attorneys who have looked at the allegations and felt that the complainants were credible. This cannot be ignored any longer. You have to do something, and you have to be transparent about what you're doing. I'd also like to hear from each board member about their suggestions to improve the index ratings that were just published in the Macomb Daily. They're deplorable. They're embarrassing.
Excuse me, Cindy, can you turn the mic on?
It's not on.
Do you see the green light on the stem? Look on the mic, look down the stem.
On the mic.
There's a button.
Okay.
Thank
Do
you.
I need to start again?
No, you
No,
can
you're good.
continue.
Okay. I'd like to know what each board member is going to do about the index ratings that were just published in the Macomb Daily. The public is just hearing about these numbers, but I assume the superintendent has known these low numbers for some time and long enough to prepare statements for the public to hear what she intends to do. The staff in our school system deserves better leadership. The parents of these students deserve better outcomes. The taxpayers deserve better results. We need concrete explanations and plans put in place. What just occurred with Mrs. Rayford is horrible. You cannot stop her from speaking. She is completely correct. The superintendent just gives the flowery statements. She does not address any of the negativity that's happening. Our school numbers, number one, parents are sending their students out of our district because our test scores are so horrible. It's embarrassing. We need to know what you're doing to improve that. I have no children in the schools and won't be having children or grandchildren in these schools, but it's impacting my community. It's impacting my neighbors. It's impacting my house value. You need to do something to fix this. I know many of you school board members are dedicated, but I don't see you doing your job. You just reelected everybody to the same positions they've had. Maybe we need a change-up. Maybe somebody else should be treasurer, secretary, president, vice president. We can't keep doing the same thing. It's not working. You need to do better for all of us, and you need to do it now. And we need to know what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard?
I won't, Riola Hammond, Eastpointe resident. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm in agreement with everything. I'm sorry?
Could you repeat your name?
Yes, Riola Hammond, Eastpointe resident. I won't be repetitive and repeat everything that they said, but I'm in total agreement. And I'd like to know, with the 3 lawsuits, has the board reached out? I mean, have you all met? Has it been discussed with the superintendent? You know, if things are filed against anyone else in any other job, you're called in, it's discussed. And also, how does it affect the morale of the schools, the teachers, the students? Everyone's being affected. So that's my statement, because, you know, poor morale, you know, the students are the ones. That's what you all are here. You all are in a fiduciary position, and when there's misconduct or the appearance of misconduct or alleged misconduct, I'm wondering if you all have met to discuss this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else wish to be heard? We'll close the hearing of the public at 7:10. Next item on the agenda is Human Resources. Do we want to? Is she going to make a recommendation? Or do we want to just make a motion?
Ms. Alspach, do you have anything to say about the new hires?
We are excited to welcome to our district Alexis Johnson, and our teacher who will be serving our students at Forest Park and Pleasantville. And Abigail Harold is a teacher that's just moved in from out of state, and she was very excited to be a PE teacher at Crescentwood and Bellevue, and we'd like to welcome them to the staff pending board approval. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to support the new hires?
I make a motion that we support the new hires.
Support. Please call the vote.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Grunberg?
Yes.
Dr. Early?
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford?
Yes.
Mrs. Grunberg?
Yes.
Okay, next, curriculum. We have recommendation for approval of the 2023-24 district calendar changes due to added election days.
All right,
So
good
there's a
evening. Yep, good evening, Board of Education and Eastpointe community. We have recently become aware of some additional voting days that the city has approved. Our calendar committee decides the calendar in the springtime, where it does get approved by the board, but these dates were not available at that time. So there are some adjustments that we're going to propose tonight to be approved. And as you might know, nearly all of our ECS schools are used as local polling places. So the reason why we are asking for these calendar changes is because we want to continue the effort to keep our schools safe and secure. And as polling locations, members of the public will be coming into our buildings. And so we typically do not have school held on those voting days. So we sought out information from the calendar committee, our union presidents, teachers, principals, to make kind of the least disruptive moves that we could make to the already existing calendar. So you will see up on the board here the proposed changes that we are bringing forward tonight. January 30th is the special primary election for Michigan House of Representatives. Currently, we have January 26th as the end of the semester professional development and records day. We are requesting that we would move the 26th to a normal school day where all students and staff would be in attendance, and that January 30th would then become the no students PD records day, and that would be the voting day. February 27th is the presidential primary. We would propose no students in a staff work day, where we will work with our administration around how that would look, just to provide security for those buildings. And then the final one would be April 5th is originally scheduled as a professional development day. We would ask that that become a normal school day where students and staff would attend, and that April 16th, which is a special election for Michigan House of Representatives vacancy, would then become the PD day, where we would not have staff and students in attendance.
I'd also like to make a comment that both municipalities, because we have polling locations, both for the city of Warren and for the city of Eastpointe, we did reach out and make some requests about possible polling locations. The concern was the disruption to the voting members, and the city would they feel that having the same polling location helps to increase the number of people who come out to vote, and that the disruptions create confusion. So to honor the democratic process and keep our children safe, we are requesting that the Board of Education approve these alterations to our school calendar.
Is there a motion to approve the school calendar as presented?
I make a motion to approve the school calendar as presented.
Support. Please call the vote.
Dr. Early?
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Grunberg?
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mrs. Rayford?
Yes.
And Mrs. Grunberg?
Yes.
And next, we have a presentation.
Sorry, did not. Okay, good evening. Again, tonight we have, in addressing the curriculum disparities that we have in our district, we've worked very hard this year to be bringing forth some alignment of curriculum across the district K-12. The most recent is a pilot that we are running with our special education classes K-12. That's an area that has not had consistent curriculum in a very long time. And so, and it's kind of convenient in response to some of the things that were brought up tonight. These are exactly the things that we are looking at. And we are aggressively working to align curriculum and get curriculum that has been a very long time coming. So the state funds and the federal funds that have come forth have been very helpful for that. We are running a pilot currently, and I have here tonight with us two representatives from Teach Town, Craig Kazmarek and Emily Gregory, who are going to run through not only some of the highlights of these programs, but also some of the data that has been collected from this K-12 pilot program. We are not asking for approval tonight. This is purely a presentation around the work that has been going on this fall with this program. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. If you can go to the next slide. We appreciate you allowing us to be here tonight. So we are Teach Town. We support neurodivergent students with our holistic approach, offering a comprehensive curriculum called Encore that's aligned with our state standards. Our interventions address adaptive, social, and behavioral needs from early childhood to transition years. Beyond foundational skills like reading and math, we prioritize fostering self-advocacy, problem-solving, time management, and healthy peer relationships. So Encore, in a nutshell, is a standards-based curriculum blending adapted general education content with technology, teacher, or student-led instruction. It incorporates research-backed teaching methods and ensures social and academic equity for students with moderate to severe disabilities, aligning with common literature and themes that they see with their gen ed peers. Encore is the core curriculum, that's why it's in the big blue box, that addresses the academic subjects, but we know that our students need instruction across a wide array of subjects throughout their day. We want to be able to fill the classroom schedule from the moment they get off the bus until they go home without having to give our teachers more work to find and modify. Inside of the Encore package, we also include intervention-based programs. On the far left, you'll see Basics, which are programs to help target splintered skills. We refer to our special ed students sometimes as a piece of cheese, and if you think about it as Swiss cheese, there are specific holes, and Basics helps to kind of fill in those gaps where the core curriculum needs a little bit more boostering. The next one over you see our little cast of characters there, that's Social Skills. This is a program that is used to promote peer-to-peer interactions and supports the social and behavioral needs of students. The third one you see there is our Transition to Adulthood program that includes life skills as well as academic skills to master the transitional skills necessary for our students to function independently. In the state of Michigan, we service those students up until the age of 26, and we do this through video modeling from first-person point of view. And then finally, health and wellness, which is just the basics of social distancing, washing our hands, those basic type of things. And inside of all of this, we have built-in professional development to support our teachers, our paraprofessionals in the classroom with the students. So inside of Encore, we follow a blended approach, incorporating technology and direct instruction. So as you see here, our implementation follows the I do, we do, you do pedagogy. The I do, if you want to click. So that provides the modeling and direct instruction that's coming from the teacher or the paraprofessional. The we do, which incorporates opportunities for prompting, cueing, and fading support. And then finally, the you do, which is the opportunity for our students to work independently.
Okay, so now I'm going to showcase some lessons and features within all of our 4 subject areas, and you can go to the next slide, please. Right here is an ELA unit, and it's showing thematically linked using a fiction and a nonfiction book. In elementary, you'll see that the fiction books has colorful and engaging pictures. And then the nonfiction text, what it does is it uses real-life pictures and helps generalize the content area across all of the unit.
And we do like to highlight that as they go up in age, the images are going to change, but all of our images are either from open source that we're allowed to use, or we do have 2 former Pixar graphic designers on staff that do all of our illustrations for us, so that it's lifelike and it lets the students feel like they can see themselves in all of our titles.
Okay, can you go to the next slide, please? Within all of our adapted books, you'll notice there's 3 different levels of differentiation for all of the learners. There's a level 1, and level 1 learners need the most support. And then the support fades as you move on to level 2, and then finally to level 3. You'll notice on the left in level 1, they're very simplified sentences, and there's lots of visual supports for those students that need that. Moving on to level 2, you'll see the sentence complexity does increase, but still that visual support for those students that need it. And then finally, moving on to level 3, we fade that visual support and we add more sentences for those students that need it. So it's a curriculum for each student at their level. Go to the next slide, please. In addition, all of our lesson resources are differentiated. So right now, you'll see a level 1 worksheet or an activity. Moving on to a level 2 next. And you see the complexity, and then finally to a level 3. And also so that was a few examples of ELA and math, but also we have social studies going on the next slide. Just want to showcase some of the topics covered within social studies real quickly. And then moving on to our science, some of the topics that are also covered within science. Okay, we can go to the next slide, please. Also within Encore, there's a lot of other things that are incorporated, ESY programming for those students that need it, also current events, and also the ready-made materials available. We have a curriculum so your teachers are not creating, or everything is there for your teachers.
ESY is extended school year.
Okay.
So if you do have a summer school program, we offer 4 weeks of additional support every year. And then we archive all the previous years if you want other things. And the current events, we release new lesson plans every week that align to things that are happening. So this next coming week, we're going to have some activities about MLK Jr. that the students will be able to use. I don't know if we'll have anything specific about, we will with the Super Bowl. We hope the Lions are in it.
Okay, and moving on to the next slide, please. And this is the point where I'm really excited to share the data. So Eastpointe is currently piloting Teach Town with a few of their special ed programs and their classrooms. And as I said, I'm very, very excited to share that data and the progress the students have made so far this year. So you'll notice on this graph, the average pre-test score and average post-test score. So when the students are completing a lesson within the program, it will be given a pre-test to test the students' prior knowledge of what they know on that topic. If needed, there are lessons and activities that are given to the students. And at the end, there's a post-test that is given. And as you can see, I'm very excited because the average pre-test score for the students was 25.9%. And then at the end, it was 94.4% for that post-test, with a 68.5% increase after completing the lessons. That's this tremendous growth, and you should be very proud of your students for the progress that they've made. On the next graph, this illustrates the average number of lessons mastered per student and also the progress that the students have been making. This is great growth, and it's showing that throughout the year, the students are increasing the number of lessons they're mastering, and then also the lessons that they're actually mastering per student. You'll see a little drop in December, but I wouldn't be worried because that's most likely due to the holiday and the students not being in the school during that time. And the last slide, please. And so I want to say thank you so much for allowing Emily and I to come present today. We've enjoyed working with Lori, Stephanie, and Lisa. We appreciate all of your help, and we look forward to a continued partnership. And do you have any additional questions for Emily or I?
Yes, I have one. Your scores, are they an overall score for all subjects, or is it just reading, or is it math, or how would you?
That was a combined for all of the lessons. You mean, so ELA, science, math, social studies, everything combined, all 4 core areas.
And what would be the lowest score in what subject, you would say?
I do not have that data, but I can get it for if you'd like to. I just did it the overall in general. Yes.
I have a question as well regarding the diversity data. Do you have any as far as to what has worked with different student populations?
What's the question?
I don't know if we have it broken down by that. We would have to go back and ask.
What was the question?
We're looking at as a whole for any students who have anything on the moderate to severe disability kind of spectrum. We don't pull things out specifically, so we would have to ask.
Well, no, the reason I'm asking is because our student population is 90% Black or African American dependent. And so the approach, because of who they are and what their environment usually has been, needs to be different. And I was wondering what the approach was like.
I don't believe that we approach any of our students differently. We've modified general education for them, which by law is what we need to do. They need to be working in the same sort of standards that their gen ed peers are. We've modified the curriculum, and that's based on those levels 1, 2, and 3. So we place the students based on how they do on that initial assessment on each of those levels, and we treat them with equity across for all things. So it's not like we differentiate other than the levels in which they need to be learning at based on where they are on the mod to severe spectrum.
Okay, let me rephrase that question. With your curriculum, with the materials used, how will our students, will they be able to see themselves in the curriculum?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes. We can get a full list of all of the titles for our books too, so that you can see that the students do see themselves reflected in all of our titles.
I'd like that, thank you.
Any others? Now, my understanding, this is just a pilot at this time?
It is currently the pilot.
And we pilot a program like this to see what the effect is on student outcomes, correct?
Yep.
And if it's a benefit and it's a positive to the student outcomes, then we're going to go bigger with it?
Yes. That is, we will go for
Okay, so
approval
we're kind
before
of testing
you.
it out first, but that's why we do these types of things, though, right?
Absolutely, and our teachers are the ones using it. So we hold groups with them and meetings with them to get input. We have a whole curricular adoption process that we follow. And so our teachers are actually the ones who help determine if this is something they want to move forward with, as much as the student data and, you know, our curricular adoption process. So our teachers have been in every single conversation and pulling the reports, which I like that you asked that question, because there are some beautiful reports that we are able to pull with our students, and we can break it down by student, by class, by ability level, and really target in and hone in on some of those areas. But obviously, for the sake of public presentation and for the sake of a pilot, we are looking at overarching data. But that is one of the things that our teachers really, really appreciate are the reports that we're able to pull as an instructor to help drive that curriculum in their classroom.
And then the levels, so the teachers aren't having to make their own worksheets
Right.
to modify or adapt anymore. Because the program levels the students, the teachers, it is actually removing lots of work that I know a lot of our special education teachers do. Because in some of the classrooms, they might have 15 children and everybody has a different work folder. And so the program, my understanding is that starts to eliminate all the superfluous and extra work that's been put on our teachers.
And all of our lessons are 100% scripted. So if there is a substitute teacher or there is a paraprofessional that needs to take over for the head teacher, everything is literally scripted for them for each one of the levels for the students. We're trying to provide our teachers with as much support as possible because we know that burnout is a serious issue. As
Thank you.
two former educators.
Thank you.
Is this across the district? Is it like what grade levels is what I'm asking, like?
How big is the pilot?
The pilot was a
K-12.
It is a K-12.
It is K-12, yep. And so we have samples from, we tried to do each grade level. Some of our self-contained classes are blended. Go ahead.
One thing that I really like about this program is so many times for our students with disabilities, we have to take the curriculum that's already there and figure out how it fits for our students that have disabilities. What this does is it presents our students and our teachers with a curriculum that's designed for those students that have disabilities. So they don't have to figure out, how am I going to adapt it for student A or student B or student C? And sometimes there could be 10 different students, like Mrs. Gibson said, in the classroom that all need different adaptations. This is a curriculum that's designed to be different and to accommodate our students that learn differently. And we haven't had that before here.
Director of Student Services, Lori Rush, could you please tell us how many self-contained flex classrooms would this possibly impact if the board chose to adopt it later?
Currently, we're piloting it in 5 classrooms. Those classrooms have as many as 15 students. That's our max allowable number of students in each of those classrooms. We're not at 15 for every one. If we adopt this, it would be in 10 classrooms.
Mm-hmm. And the impact on children, estimated number of children that this would impact across our district? I know we're at about 25% of our student population is special education, but our percentage of CI, cognitively impaired kids, is right about 10%?
It's probably a little lower than, maybe 8 to 10% of our students, but it's our students that need that alternate curriculum. The rest of our students with disabilities, they are in a gen ed curriculum with different modifications. These are for our students who need something completely different because that gen ed curriculum does not work for them.
Thank you.
So I have one question, though. I'm not sure, Lori, if you can answer this, though. For like high schoolers, because there's, you got to take math, reading, English, blah, 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 to get through is this going to work for them? Is it going to be able to allow them to have to be able to go to the 9th, then the 10th, then, you know what I'm saying, in succession?
It does, because most of the students that will be using this curriculum are not necessarily on a diploma track, they're on a certificate track.
Yeah.
And so those credits and those things, there's some flexibility, a little less meaningful, because they're going towards a certificate of completion versus a diploma.
Right.
But we are piloting it at all the different grade levels right now, and it is working well for our high school students. They're interested in it. Whereas in the past, we've tried some similar programs, and some of the graphics and things might have been too young for them. But our students now are interested and engaged.
So one more question. When you break it down, you said it's in 5 classrooms. So is that like 1 in the high school, 1 in the elementary, and like 2 or 3 in the middle or something like that?
Correct. We have 2 at the middle school, 1 at the high school, 1 at lower L, I think 2 at 3rd through 5th, but I'd have to double check that.
Okay.
But we have at least 1 piloted at every grade level right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Nothing else? Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have business operations.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This evening, I have a request for the purchase of a 10-passenger van to be used by our athletic programs and to transport homeless students, and just do like different shuttle runs where a bus is not available before or after school hours. With the driver shortage that we're experiencing with our bus drivers, and the various times that we have practices and events, there's not always a bus available. And so what ends up happening is, like, the smaller teams or smaller numbers that go to a practice sometimes miss a bus or have to wait, or they have to reschedule practice. So this will help alleviate, the lack of transportation that we're having in certain instances in our district. We went to a purchasing consortium to try to find a bus. We've been trying to find, a small van. It's been about a year that we've been looking. 10-passenger vans apparently are being phased out by the auto manufacturers. What's happening in the future, this was the last batch that Ford was producing, but the future vans will be like a box, and they'll have to customize and put your seats in. And so we priced it out that way, and it costs actually $20,000 more than the cost of this bus that comes from the factory. So we were on a waiting list for about a year. And then when the manufacturer finally delivered the product, there was 2 buses remaining from prior districts that no longer needed them. So we were able to get one of those. Ron Smith in our transportation department has been calling the dealer about once a month for the last year trying to get one. So we're really pleased to get one. And apparently they were actually anxious to get it off their lot because they delivered it last week. Before we even had board approvals, we had to refuse to purchase, and they brought it back to their lot. And if it's approved tonight, we'll schedule that delivery in the next couple days. So the cost of the van is $59,934 from Gorno Ford, and the pricing is per the My Deal Purchasing Consortium, which means the state of Michigan actually went and pre-bid all these vans out, and this was the best price that they could obtain, and that was from Gorno Ford.
Is there a motion to approve?
I have a question.
Usually parliamentary, you put a motion on the floor first.
But the motion wasn't made.
I'm saying, is there a motion? Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the 10-passenger van.
Support.
Support.
Now, is there any questions, comments?
Mary had the first and I had the
Yeah, I
second.
do. Liability issues. I noticed that in your memo to us, the comment was made that anybody could drive it.
Well, it has to be a licensed driver. There's not a special license required for this. There's not a chauffeur's license. It's just considered a regular vehicle. And it would be, the driver would have to be screened, just like we would do for our other employees. And if there's not an issue and there was a need, they would be authorized to drive the van. So we anticipate it might be, someone like one of our maintenance staff in the morning driving a homeless person. Or it could be a coach after hours, transporting a team from the high school to a practice field, that's off our campus. So they would be screened first, and this is all run by our insurance company in advance, and it would be just covered under district's umbrella policy.
Okay. I was asking because none of that was indicated in what you sent us. The other thing I was curious about is how soon, if we approve it tonight, will a check be cut for it, the cost?
Well, we typically run checks on a Friday, and we would contact the dealer. In my conversations with the dealer, they were aware of tonight's board meeting and that it required board approval. So as soon as that's official and they could put the paperwork together, we'd get the insurance, and then we would have the delivery after that. So it probably takes a few days, just to get the insurance certificate and that type of thing.
Any others?
Rob, I just had a couple of questions. Now, you say anyone can drive. Will it be training for those that vehicle?
Kerry Wysop is our head of maintenance, so he could definitely, show people how to use the vehicle.
So I'd like to pause you for a minute there, because we have been trying to get a vehicle for well over a year. We identified early on in our ESSER funds that having a vehicle to run an activities bus to support families that have barriers for staying for high-dosage tutoring would be a benefit to the organization. We did not anticipate getting this van. Gorno Ford called us December 19th.
Yeah, before Christmas.
Right the week before Christmas break, and informed us that a van that was slated to go to another district was available. We wanted to add it to this meeting. Our team has not had the time that I would prefer that we have to work out the logistics.
Sure.
We haven't written a policy about who we will approve to drive the bus, what the approval process would be. So there's more work that our team has to do to navigate some of these questions. The questions you're asking are the same questions that we have, and our team hasn't had the time yet to do this. We did not want to delay on bringing this van forward. Our homeless transportation costs last year were well over $80,000 in taxis to meet our obligations for McKinney-Vento. So the district team would like more time to process through some of these questions. I encourage you to continue to ask them, but I just want to make sure that Robert doesn't feel compelled to give an answer that our team has not taken the time to think through. This is a new opportunity for us, and we wanted to jump on the chance to get the
Sure.
van, because it's been on our wish list for a while.
And my second part of the question, and I do concur with you, how hard it is to get those vehicles, because the last nonprofit that I worked for was engaged with, we had to go all the way to Ohio to find those 12-passenger, 15-passenger vans. So I do concur with you on that. And then I think you answered my B part of my first question was where are the funds being drawn from?
So
Is it coming out of
it
the
would be
general or the
federal
SR?
grant funds.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
My question would be, since this is the last group of these vans being built or produced or whatever, so the longevity of us having the van, then what? Like, what is the longevity of this van being used?
Well,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
we got some vans that are 10 years old. I mean,
so it's some
yeah.
time that we will be
Yeah.
able to use
Yeah.
this van for what
Yes.
we needed to.
Yeah.
And then, so after that, we would have to try to figure out something else.
possibly, I mean, I think we could first wait for the facilities master study. Things could be reorganized, which would either increase or decrease the usage of a van. But, we have a need at the present time. The funding is available. So I guess we'll have to just cross that bridge when we come to it. Things could change in the next 10 years or so as far as what is allowed on the road and what's not allowed on the road. Electric vehicles, different things, so. I mean, there's also like looking into a small bus, but then that requires a special CDL license.
CDL.
So
Yeah.
the advantage to a 10-passenger bus, it's the highest number that you could fit in a vehicle without having that special license.
Right. Now, what about the maintenance? Like, if these are the last few vans, the parts, let's say we
Well,
need,
it's similar to they're still going to build the vans, they're just not going to have the seats in them.
oh, I got you,
It'll be
okay.
like a box van.
Okay,
like-
I got you.
Okay, see, that's what I'm thinking, like,
Yeah,
this
and then
van
you'd have
won't
to pay,
be.
like, if you had a Mustang to get it customized or something like that. So you'd have to get your box van customized with seats.
Mm-hmm.
But there's federal laws that dictate, like, how many years you have to have supplies on hand.
Okay, I
Once
got
a
you.
vehicle is out of production.
Okay, yeah,
So-
that's, okay. Thank you.
Any others? Please call the vote.
Oh, me, Mr. Williams, yes. Mrs. Grunberg,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford,
No.
Mrs. oh, okay.
Mr.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes. Anyways, before we go on to the next item, I asked that this item be added to the agenda, and when I asked for it to be agenda item, I didn't anticipate that we were going to have two board members recovering from fairly serious surgeries, as well as we don't have a board member here, and it was intended to be an open discussion, and I prefer that all the board members be here, and that we have the time to be able to sit here and discuss it thoroughly. So, that being said, I would move that we table item 6D.
Support.
6D?
6D.
Oh, item D.
No,
Item 6D.
9.
Oh, 90, I'm sorry.
90.
90. 90. Why was I stuck at 6D? There's already support.
Support.
Please call the vote.
Mr. Grunberg,
Yes.
Dr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Williams, yes. Mr. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mrs. Rayford,
Yes.
Mrs. Grunberg.
Yes.
Okay, one last thing before we adjourn. I want to remind the board members sitting up here that this is a printed agenda. This is a business meeting. We are expected to keep our discussion to the agenda items as they are printed and not really go off topic. And I also want to remind you, and I think I've already let you all know, that even though policy dictates that any board member can request that the president of the board add something to the agenda. It's up to the president's discretion, and I have also let all of you know that I do not follow that what I do is if anybody makes a suggestion to add something to the agenda, if another board member other than myself wants it, so if there's two people that want something on the agenda, it can be added to the agenda. If two board members want something added to the agenda, it can be added to the agenda, whether it be action or discussion. But if it's not on the agenda and pre-printed, this is just not an open discussion meeting. This is a business meeting. Okay, and we all understand that. Meeting adjourned, 7:46.
Eastpointe basketball team, 78-65. Congratulations, Shamrocks.